Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this information session on research infrastructures in Horizon Europe. My name is Simon Ardin, and I'm a member of the CARE4BIO network. CARE4BIO provides national contact points and applicants useful information and insights to help you apply for fundings under Horizon Europe, but also Cluster 6 and partnerships. We try to provide a better understanding of the Horizon Europe ecosystem, and that's exactly what we will be doing today. This information session aims to give you a comprehensive overview of the research infrastructures actions supported under Horizon Europe. We will provide you with a detailed understanding of the policy context, strategic objectives, and funding opportunities available in the work program. Whether you are advising applicants or preparing a proposal yourself, this session will equip you with the knowledge to navigate the research infrastructures landscape within Horizon Europe and also within Cluster 6, and to optimize your participation in upcoming calls. The speech will be made today by Daniele GIZZI from APRE, the Italian agency for the promotion of the European research. Daniele is part of the Reach Europe initiatives, and he will explain how this project improves and supports the professionalization and harmonization of research infrastructures national contact point services across Europe. And he will also explain how it contributes to the consolidation of the European research infrastructures ecosystem. Regarding the global organization, comments and questions can be submitted directly on the YouTube chat, and we will also dedicate some time at the end of the presentation. Please also note that all the materials you will see today will be available on the CARE4BIO website. Well, I think that's all on my side, and I will now give the floor to Daniele. Daniele, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Simon, to invite me to this event that is aimed to try to understand better what we are talking about when we mention research infrastructures, especially in Horizon Europe, and all the potentials, opportunities, and development and synergies that can exist among the research infrastructure environment and the Cluster 6 landscape. I already said, how you introduced, I'm a national contact point on research infrastructure in Horizon Europe, and I'm also the project coordinator of Reach Europe. My presentation is split in three parts. The first part is to present the Reach Europe project initiatives. Then the biggest part, actually, because I can provide to the audience I think an interesting services also for the community of Cluster 6. For sure, services are always free of charge for the participant. Then I'll try to give you a general overview of research infrastructures in Horizon Europe, and finally try to explore to detect the calls that are relevant in Cluster 6 for the research infrastructures. First of all, starting with the presentation of Reach Europe initiatives. I repeat, I am the coordinator of the project Reach Europe. Reach Europe project is a coordination and support action financed by Horizon Europe. Is the project networks of national contact point or research infrastructure. For those that are not familiar with the concept of national contact points, the national contact points are the person that are appointed in each EU member state plus associated country to Horizon Europe to support the national community to apply and to carry on their projects financed in the Horizon Europe program. We are organized in coherence with the organization of Horizon Europe. So we are NCPs for Cluster 1, NCPs for Cluster 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, of course. And also, regarding the Pillar 1, there are three sub programs, if I can say that: Marie Curie, ERC and research infrastructure, and I am one of the Italian NCPs of the research infrastructure strands, if I can say that. I'm also a national contact point for legal and financial aspects, so I have a cross-cutting competence that can also be that affect all the programs parts. But anyway, I'm here today for present in the best of research infrastructure national contact point, and as coordinator of the project that try, you can read in the slide, try to improve and enhance the capacity of the national contact points in research infrastructure through different activities. I will explain to you, but we do something more. We don't. The project is not only is one. You can see one of the various national contact point project networks. I repeat, already said, each line, each part of Horizon Europe has its national contact point project networks. The other one that you can see on the screen is CARE4BIO, the national contact point for cluster 6. And I am the coordinator of Reach Europe, the national contact point project in research infrastructure. I already said the aims of the project, that of course you can imagine is similar also to the other project, but each project has some characteristic currently with the nature of the community that they try to address. The Reach Europe gives to the national contact in general, I mean the national contact points, try to give guidance, advice, training, distribution of documentation, info days, symposium to the stakeholders. I repeat, all the activities enrolled in the framework of the national contact point projects are free of charge for the participant. The Reach Europe networks counts more than 70 NCPs from 40 countries. So we try, to harmonize not only the national contact points in EU member state and associated country to Horizon Europe, but also because most of the world has some national contact points appointed, even in the Latin American or in Asia. But we do something more. The project is not only addressed to the national contact points. Alongside the main activities, of course, and then the main target group, we try to provide, I repeat, free of charge for the general stakeholders in the field of research infrastructure, some specific services. This is extremely interesting also for stakeholders outside the research infrastructure landscape. I'll explain in a while. For example, with the first service that we provide, that is the symposia. The symposia, we organize the European Symposium of Research Infrastructures each 2 years in Europe, and it's a moment during which we involve all the stakeholders, the research infrastructure stakeholders, not only research infrastructure itself, but also public enterprise, industries, academia, etc., etc. And during which we try to explain and to create synergies among the research infrastructure and all the other productive, if I can say that, part of the economy. The first symposium was organized in Madrid in 2024. The next one will be organized in Rome next February 25-26. So of course it's open upon registration, but we are willing to accept the question till the capacity of the room will allow that. The second services that we provide to all the stakeholders is the promotion of transnational access. This is an extremely interesting. I say that not because we provide these services, but because it's really like that, to the all researchers. Let me explain. What are we talking about? In the framework of research infrastructures project are funded, the European Commission gives money to the research infrastructures to open their door, to open their premises in a physical way or virtual way to all the researchers. The researchers can ask to use, not only the researchers, also the SMEs or groups of researchers can go in the premises of research infrastructure to use the tools, the laboratories, all the stuff that the tools, all the research stuff that the research infrastructures host, library, database, etc. They can use the premises of research infrastructures free of charge. They can use that to do their research. Okay, so the European Commission, through the Research Infrastructure Work Program, finance projects. In the framework of these projects, there are properly call for proposal opportunities that cover the cost of travel, the accommodation, the subsistence cost that will be reimbursed by the project to those researchers that ask, that they apply to use the research infrastructure's premises. Why it's important? What is the role of Reach Europe? There is a picture that should explain you better what we are talking about, because I know that in some cases the terminology is not so easy to understand. TNA means transnational access. So basically, in Italian researchers, Spanish researchers can move to Germany, to Czech Republic, to Bulgaria, wherever you need, to go inside a research infrastructure for the periods needed, using the services, the tools, the equipment of the research infrastructures to do its research. Okay, and all the costs are reimbursed by the European Commission. Of course, to apply, there is an application procedure that now I'll explain you better. So another important aspect is that researchers from all over the world are eligible for reimbursement, not only the European Union researchers. What is the role of Reach Europe? Reach Europe, so my project. First of all, we organize specific webinars during which we invited the project coordinator, the coordinators of the projects that provide this kind of services to promote to wide public the TNA. You can see the forthcoming webinar is will be organized on 24th of November, so in a couple of weeks. So if you are interested, you can follow that. You can also understand better the procedure, the opportunities, the tools offered in a selected research infrastructures. I repeat, the role of Reach Europe, the first one is that we try to promote as much as possible this opportunity among the researchers. Also, this one is an occasion for us to promote that. But we do something more. We collect in a single database, basically is the unique database existing on this sense, that collect all the transnational access calls. Okay, if you are looking for an opportunity to move abroad to do your research in a research infrastructure premises, the only way that you can find the comprehensive, of course, each project has its website and provide the information. We check manually all the calls and we collect them and we keep update as well in the Reach Europe database. Okay, this is the general structure of the is a picture of the database. If you go in our website reacheurope.com, you can find in the Service for Stakeholders tab, there is inside the database where all the TNA opportunities are listed. Okay, so this is extremely interesting because it doesn't matter if you can apply as a single researchers. I repeat, you are a researcher in any domain. You need for do your research of some specific tool, maybe an observatory, maybe a laboratories, maybe a laser or a supercomputer. What you need, these tools, this equipment is located, for example, in Germany, in UK, in Belgium, in Portugal, in Greece. You can check if the research infrastructure provide the free access, and you can try to apply. You apply, you prepare your application form, and if you are selected, you can go, I repeat, fully reimbursed to the premises to do your research. And where you can find this opportunity, okay, well, looking around on the website or the unit single entry point is the TNA database of Reach Europe. We are very proud of that, to promote that. Then, of course, we also try to explain to the wide public what we are talking about when we talk about TNA. We produce a leaflet in English, but also in Spanish and also in French to disseminate among the white communities. Then we do something more, always for the stakeholders. I'm focusing now on the stakeholder services that we provide, because maybe the participants today are more non-NCPs, are maybe researchers or stakeholders in general of Horizon Europe. If you are working in you are trying to submit a proposal in Horizon Europe work program, research infrastructure work programs, and you before the submission, we organize always a proposal check workshop, a proposal during which the proposer can send their application form to have a preliminary check. Of course, this is not guarantee that your proposal will be successful, but maybe there are former or not directly involved in this call expert or the evaluators from the European Commission that will check your proposal, giving you advice, etc., etc. We organized at the moment 3 proposal check workshops. One in 2023, another one in 2024, and the last one was organized in September 2025. The next one will be open at least 1 month before the deadline of the next forthcoming calls that we'll talk about later. So in 2026, probably we have in May 2026, we'll have the 4th proposal check event. This, what you see, was organized in September 2025, is an online workshop. What is the proposal check? A free service. Even this one is important to stress on that. All the services we provide are free of charge, are directly reimbursed by the European Commission. So what we do? We provide feedback from official Horizon Europe evaluators. We guarantee, of course, the confidentiality, one-on-one online consultation section up to 2 hours. During the consultation, each session includes a short proposal pitch, feedback on the 3rd part, the 3 parts of the part B, the excellence, the impact, and the implementation. Of course, this is a service provided for the research infrastructure applicants. So I mean, for those consortia that are working in the research infrastructure work program. I suppose that other NCPs project network provide similar or equal services in their domain. We are talking about the proposal check workshop in the field of research infrastructure. And the benefit, of course, you can boost proposal quality and competitiveness, expert selection by section feedback, improve structure, objectivity, clarity, and of course the 100% of confidentiality is guaranteed. Then these are the services we provide instead for the NCPs. I will stress a little bit. I'm not going to stress too much on that because, I repeat, maybe something more that target a smaller audience. We provide training and visit to arrive for national contact points. We support the less experienced NCPs. We have an internal tool to disseminate, exchange the frequently asked questions, and of course, then we also try to build a community among RIs NCPs. This is a general overview of the activities there. And of course, we try also to reinforce, to foster the synergy and the networking among the NCPs. How, for example, try to mainstreaming RIs in Horizon Europe, like in this way. We try to let also other communities get in contact with the research infrastructure, environment. We try also to create link between research infrastructure and the small specialization strategy, and also to enhance the cooperation with other policy and international cooperation-oriented measures for research infrastructure. Now, try to understand. I talk a lot about the research infrastructure. Try now to give an overview of the research infrastructures in Horizon Europe. When we are talking about the research infrastructure, you hear the classic picture of the not easy structure of the Horizon Europe program. You can see the research infrastructure are located in the framework of Pillar 1 in the Excellent Science, together with the European Research Council and Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action. And then we are also the research infrastructure in the Pillar 1. What you can find if you are interested in the work program of research infrastructure, what you can find that, first of all, let me say that not only the research infrastructure can apply in the work program. The projects, the consortia of the proposals submitted in the research infrastructures, most of the case have also other kind of organization, other type of organization, not only research infrastructure. What is a research infrastructure? There is no official, if I can say that, definition of research infrastructure. We adopt the European Commission definition. The research infrastructure is any organization that has some tool, services, equipment that can that can be used for the research, and is not okay. They can have that. This is the first parameter, but then it's mandatory that this organization allow the researchers not only from their national, from the state where the research infrastructure is located, but also the researchers from other countries, to allow them to get in the premises of research infrastructure and use this tool. Okay, so the two main characteristics of a research infrastructure, and in this sense, you can be considered the research infrastructure from the European Commission, is that you have tools, services, database, something that can serve, okay, can serve the researchers to do their research, and that these tools, these services, database are open to the researcher from all over Europe or world in some cases. Okay, so just to understand what we are talking about for those maybe that are not so familiar with the research infrastructure. This is I give you a general overview about the research infrastructure adoption, the work program adoption in research infrastructure. We are now basically in the second part of the 2025. In fact, we are waiting for the new work program. We are waiting for the, sorry, we are in the Q3, Q3-4 of the new work program. We are waiting, in fact, of the adoption of the work program 2026. Coming from the ex-post evaluation of Horizon Europe and the interim evaluation of Horizon Europe, the research infrastructures the research infrastructure work program is shaped according with these results. Moreover, I have to add you something. There are two main characteristics in the research infrastructure work program. The first one is the strong presence of the ERIC, and the second one is the strong presence of ESFRI organization, if I can say that. I'm trying to simplify the concept. The ERIC are the European Research Infrastructure Consortium. The ESFRI organization are some research infrastructures that, according to a national process of evaluation, were added in a specific roadmap. Is a label basically that recognize that give to the research infrastructure a priority at European level. I try to rephrase. Those organizations that are marked as ESFRI because they won as a national selection are considered as European research, are considered a priority for the European Commission. And in this case, in the work program, in the research infrastructure work program, you can find specific call for them and also for ERIC, but we'll back on this aspect later. First of all, just to give you what are the main elements of the research infrastructure work program. I'm not going now to analyze in deep the draft work program. We don't have time, but then is also useless, I think. The aim of the research infrastructure work program is improve for sure the sustainability of the research infrastructure, try to harmonize and favorite the synergies among the funding sources. National funding, European funding, regional funding, avoiding to waste resources maybe that go in different direction. For this reason, we have the ESFRI roadmap, a roadmap that try to give the path for the research infrastructure, giving the priority. There are a list of research infrastructure considered a priority for the European Commission, and the European Commission funds go in this direction. Then another extremely important aim of the work program is the one that we already talked about, that the support of the transnational access. So giving basically money to the research infrastructure through the projects to maintain these services, to maintain their gates open. Okay, so to maintain the possibility for researchers to use them, because if there is a research infrastructure, for example, as an observatory, if nobody go inside to use the observatory is useless. Okay, if nobody use that to do research, to observe, to do observation, to collect data, etc., the research infrastructure observatory is useless. So another extremely important aim of the research infrastructure work program is to guarantee that the research infrastructure are able or continue to provide this kind of service. And then, of course, the third part is to support also the development of new instruments, tools, method, digital solution, etc., etc. To do that, the European Commission, this is the main element of the work program, is in draft, is available. You can find also in the APRE website in the specific section with you can find the draft work program together with all the other work program of other part of Horizon Europe. Basically, I try to summarize the work program according with the 5 destinations, so the 5 subpart in which is organized the work program. The first one is the InfraDev, is aimed to consolidate and create, in some cases, a new ecosystem of research infrastructure. So try to harmonize and try to support the not so developed, if I can say that, research infrastructure, maybe the new one, not probably the new one, but the research infrastructure that must be improved. The second destination is the InfraEOSC. I don't know if you have ever heard about the EOSC. EOSC basically is the huge cloud, European cloud of the research. You can find in EOSC like a huge research Google, if I can say that, was built through project funded in the framework of research infrastructure work programs since the 2015, I think. So it's basically 10 years that a part of research infrastructure work program is dedicated to the project that built EOSC, that are building EOSC. And in EOSC you can find, all the several, not all, data research, publication, prototypes, etc. Prototype structures, of course. So I invite you to visit it if you are a researcher. Then there is the InfraServe. The InfraServe instead is the destination in which are founded basically among the other possible activities, the TNA, the transnational access. The last 2 destinations, I will not present to you the infranet because it's something specific for NCPs or some specific huge event like the International Research Infrastructures Conference. But in the Infratech instead, the projects are aimed to produce new scientific instrumentation, new tools, new methods, especially with a particular attention now on the artificial intelligence and digital solution, and also the co-creation with the industry. So there are calls inside of this destination that try to support the next, if I can say that, research infrastructure generation. And this is just I put a slide with the link to the European Open Science Cloud. I repeat, something that is a European cloud in which you can find a huge mass of output of the research. You can put that, but you can also bring that. And then the roadmap ASFRI, that is the roadmap in which you can find the research infrastructure considered as a priority for the European Commission. And then the ERIC landscape. The ERIC landscape, these are 3 main elements that you always find in the research infrastructure work program. You can always find in some call for example, as eligibility criteria. You can find, for example, to this call, it's mandatory to have at least one ERIC or one S3 organization. Okay, the ERIC, like the ERIC, are the European Research Infrastructure Consortium, are more or less 30. Probably recently is the number raised to other 32, but anyway, this is a list. And these are consortia among research infrastructure. That is basically a legal European entity. Okay, they have their VAT number, they have their bank account, they have their legal representatives, etc., and then they can apply to research infrastructure work program. It is extremely interesting because in the last part of my presentation, we'll see that also in the cluster 6 work program, you'll find some specific reference to this ERIC, because some, of course, are thematic consortia, so research infrastructure that operate in the same field of research, so environment, blue economy, health, okay, of course, literature. So, of course, are organized among them according with their nature and their scope. Now, let's see the research infrastructure in cluster 6, the last part of my presentation. Then if you have questions or doubt, I'm willing to and happy to reply in all the also in the, of course, in the previous session. In the cluster 6, there are already said, first of all, please remember that the fact that the research infrastructure work program is mainly devoted to the research infrastructure, to the research infrastructures organization, it doesn't mean that other kind of organization can apply, because the consortia always need, for example, in several calls is required or is an add value, have, for example, SMEs, have, for example, organization industry from the industry, but also have supporting organization for the coordination, for the dissemination and communication. So don't think that the consortia in the work program research infrastructure concern only the research infrastructure. So is something it's something that you can explore. Of course, there are less opportunities than maybe in cluster 6, cluster 5, cluster 4 for sure, for the SMEs or other kind of organization, but it doesn't mean that maybe you can find something interesting. Say that there are some specific calls where there are explicit references to the ERIC. You can see the horizon. This is an extract from the work program cluster 6, the draft work program cluster 6 for 2026. For example, in the Farm to Fork 12, there is an explicit mentioning of the ERIC that I talk about. Establish further synergy between existing infrastructure, Elixir, MIRI, BBMRI, EOSC. Okay, so there is a clear okay, EOSC is not an ERIC, but anyway, is mentioning that the results, the output of the project could or is encouraged that will feed the EOSC. Then there is the cluster 6, another call. Even in this case, you see, is an add value, is encouraged to have to involve the services offered by European research infrastructure, and they mentioned that EMSO, ERIC, EU Open Screen, Elixir, EMBR, and so it's extremely interesting that now, honestly, I'm research infrastructure NCPs since 2019, but only in this work program, not only in this work program, but in the forthcoming work program, we are noticing that there is a real incentive for also in other work programs to involve the research infrastructure in the consortia, not only in cluster 6, also in the other strands of Horizon Europe, like accelerator. But we notice that is something that is becoming more relevant to have research infrastructure in the consortia. We always try to push that since the beginning, but now we find always more and more explicit references to the involvement of research infrastructure in the project, even in other parts of Horizon Europe. Another, although is in this case, you can see there is always the reference to EOSC, and where, if relevant, also involve the ERIC. I just put, of course, you can always involve research infrastructures, even if are not explicitly mentioned. But of course, where there is a clear indication in the calls, for sure you need to involve that. And as NCPs, I'm always willing, in case, to support the colleagues to create a connection or provide contact to the consortia that are looking for research infrastructure. So you can see just this is only where the mentioning the quote, sorry, was clear, but maybe there are also other calls where in the description you can think or is relevant to have a research infrastructure organization. So I reported that, so you can also better analyze than the general context. This was just to give you an overview and to also give you the evidence of how, anyway, even the cluster 6 has a strict connection with the research infrastructure environment. It's all from my side. It's 42 minutes that I'm talking, so maybe someone get boring. I don't know if there are questions or doubts. In case, I'm more than willing to help you.
Thank you very much, Daniele. That was not boring at all, so please. Well, for the moment, we just have one question. So if it's possible to have the link to the recording of the event. So as I said, all the materials will be uploaded on the CARE4BIO website. So don't worry, you will receive, and you will have the materials and also the recording of the events. So that's an answer. And Maxime, so my colleague from France, has a question as well. What would be your 2-3 practical insights for participants considering the inclusion of research infrastructure in the proposal?
Okay, thank you for the question. But first of all, where there are an explicit quote of the research infrastructure, for sure is not mandatory, but is strongly encouraged. And when there is the clear indication to involve an ERIC, the idea is always to try to start the ERIC are European consortia. So maybe it's not easy to arrive immediately to the coordinator that maybe is located in another country. You can check first if there is a national node, and of course, usually the ERICs are very comprehensive, so there are at least 20 countries involved. Starting contacting the organization, the hosting organization in your country, asking to maybe to contact them, the coordinator of ERIC, or in any case, you can also go directly to the coordinator of ERIC, proposing him or her or it to involve that. This is when the ERIC is explicitly mentioned. But in all the other case, always the involvement of research infrastructure can be a net value, because the research infrastructure provide service. Research infrastructures have tools, have database, have something that can help the research. Otherwise, they're not research infrastructure. So, of course, you have to understand first in your proposal what you are looking for. You have to develop something. Okay, well, I need a laser, okay, or I need a research, or I need a library, I need a database, I need some data. Who has this data? A specific research infrastructure. For sure, if you involve them, is always so contacting them. There for sure they will be willing to be involved in the proposal at the proposal stage. Then, of course, if you're not involved them, you can also contact in a later stage. But for the proposal, is a net value to have it, also for the evaluator to have it at the beginning.
All right, thank you very much. Well, and I can imagine then that you can just reach your national contact point in your country, so your NCP, and to get the contacts.
Yeah.
All right.
The third practical insight is that the research infrastructure communities is very fragmented. So there is no unique catalog or database of research infrastructure. So it's not easy to intercept that. Some are big, very big, other very small. But the research infrastructure contact point, especially, usually they know very well the relevant research infrastructure in the country, because the bigger are well known. The smaller are very active to be, to have more visibility. So for sure, the third practical insight is to contact the research infrastructure contact point in their country. And then, of course, as Reach Europe, we always try also to disseminate and circulate in case the request.
Well, and we have a question from Tatiana, who is asking if there are any web resources where you can find, for example, research infrastructures relevant to my project by using keywords. Or you already answered that, but it's
and there is no unique a catalog like that, a database like that. No, okay. But I can say something more. There is the ERIC landscape. The ERIC landscape, you can find the 32, 33 existing ERIC that they collect at least 20, 25 organizations. So maybe you can start, if you are completely lost, you don't know how orient your research, you can start from the ERIC, checking the one that are relevant with your scientific domain, and then starting from that, you can check who is participating in the ERIC, and for sure you can is a good point to start.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question from Maxime. So it's definitely an added value rather than a risk of not being accepted to integrate research infrastructure in your project. Is it really an added value, or is it sometimes a risk of not being accepted?
So an add value rather than a risk of not being accepted. I didn't get clearly the questions.
I think that the question is if you are you're applying to have an access to a research infrastructure, then is it a risk that the proposal is not being accepted?
Okay.
I think that's the question.
Okay. No. Okay, great. No, when there are TNAs calls, there is basically a call. So you can go in the data that Rich Europe database, you check your relevant call for your domain. I always do the example of the observatory because it's the easier to understand. I need to go to an observatory in Canary. I check if there are open call there. Yes, we find a call there. There is a procedure. So you have to apply. You need to submit. There is a procedure. Each call can have a different forms, a different application form, but nothing extraordinary. You have to submit your idea, research idea, and then if you are selected, you can apply. Actually, there are few, usually, better say, usually, if you apply, maybe you are not selected for this call, but you will be selected in the following. So there are several calls and not so high requests. More or less, the open calls satisfy more or less for the moment the request. So the risk to be rejected, of course there is, but it's not so high.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. And what happens if there is no Eric? A question from Ludovic. If there is no Eric, then what happens?
Okay, if there is a call that required an ERIC, you are not satisfying an eligibility criteria. I mean, in a research infrastructure work program. In the call that I show you about the cluster 6, well, maybe if is clearly indicated that is encouraged the synergy. The risk is that there is a competitive proposal that has an ERIC, maybe is better evaluated if all the other parameters are assessed in the same way. So this is regarding the submission. In case instead you are looking for partner, and I suggested you to start from the ERIC, but please consider that the ERIC cover the 98% of the research domains. So you can find something maybe more related to yours. Maybe yours is extremely specific. There is not an ERIC specific for your research domain. Maybe it's included in, I don't know, in a wider one. So there is an ERIC for all the research domain. Someone are more maybe closer to you, someone are big level, but you can for sure find something.
All right, thank you. Well, I think there are no more questions for you. So unless we have another question. So, well, thanks again, Daniele, for this presentation. That was very clear and very useful. So thank you very much. To all of you, please stay in touch with your with your research infrastructure NCP or with your cluster 6 NCPs. And please don't forget to have a look at our CARE4BIO website, where you will be able to follow us on social media, subscribe to the newsletter, and you will have also lots of information on future work programs for Cluster 6. So thanks again for your participation, and see you later. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.